All right, everyone. I want to welcome you to another episode with my friend, mentor, brother, just shining light and positivity and creativity to this world. I mean, I can't hog him to myself, and and so here he is. This is Donnelle McGee. He is the author of the novel Ghost Man, the novella Shine, the poetry collection Naked. His work has been featured in publications such as Controlled Burn, Haight Ashbury Literary Journal, Home Planet News, among other journals. McKee's writing, of course, has earned a Pushcart Prize nomination. He co-authored the poetry collection American Reverie with Synnika Lofton. McGee is the founder and publisher of Thera Books, an independent publishing house in Sacramento, and currently he serves as one of the best professors in the Bay Area, specifically at Mission College. And did I read this right? You are now at Oklahoma City University?
Yeah, I'm working with MFA students. Yeah, they're writing students. Just a few students. I'm there like doing some adjunct work, but it's good to be here. It's good to be here, and thank you for the invitation. So,
Donnell,
good to be here.
so part of our icebreakers that we try to have is wearing a favorite shirt or a hoodie. What do you have on for us and why?
So I had to. I love the idea you had us. Bring our favorite hoodie. So Muhammad Ali. And it means a lot. I wear this probably once a week, and
Mm-hmm.
me, Muhammad Ali, it brings me back to my stepdad and to my family. We used to gather around and watch him fight. His
Mm-hmm.
boxing matches back in the mid '70s, early '80s, and then also it connects to me as a human being, as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Myself being African American and being Jewish, being biracial,
Yeah.
I really value that. And what I learned from Muhammad Ali is this idea of being able to stand up for what you believe in. And if we go back to Ali, um, some of you know the history, some of you don't know the history, but he refused to go to the Vietnam War
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when he said, my enemy is right here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I go? I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said, but
Yeah. Yeah.
why should I go fight? Somewhere in the mud in a different country. My enemy's right here. At that time in this country, we had a lot of issues with civil rights and people of color being treated unjust.
Yeah.
And I believe in that. And that kind of, when I wear this, I think about that spirit, that energy, and it brings me even to like people like Tommy Smith and John Carlos,
Yeah.
who took a stand in the Mexico Olympics, to people even today like Colin Kaepernick who took a stand.
Mm-hmm.
So I just believe as poets, as writers, we have to be advocates for the people, and we have to stand up and write truth. So when I wear this, I'm inspired. I'm inspired to keep that, to be humble, and to be truthful, and to stand up for my culture, my heritage,
Mm-hmm.
for humanity. And that's why we're Ali.
You know what's wild? The spirit is moving. Donnell, the spirit is moving. So I never told people why I started wearing your favorite. I started this icebreaker where I had people and I encouraged people to wear their favorite shirt or wear their favorite hoodie or sweatshirt. It was because of Trayvon Martin, right? Just because you wearing what you like and people don't deem it as friendly or whatever it is, right? Doesn't justify getting killed, you
Right.
know, to have that stereotype. Just if you wear a hoodie, then you're a criminal. No way.
Yeah. That's,
Uh,
I'm with you on that. And I'm sure my students right now, I'm teaching a class
mm,
at Mission College, English 1B, which is a literature course. And we're reading Claudia Rankine's book, Citizen,
yeah. Mm,
Eric. And she talks about what you just kind of mentioned, like these ideas of like police brutality and social justice and microaggressions, right?
yeah.
How those accumulate over time and it can eat at a person. And you go back and look at like the idea of like, well, how do we have these conversations about truth
Hmm.
without being afraid to get upset? And it's okay to have conflict so we can move forward.
Yes, sir.
So, like back to the hoodie, Ali, I think he had those conversations and not saying
Mm-hmm.
everyone's perfect, we have our flaws.
Yeah.
I think he was open to trying to figure out, who am I? How can I help my people? How can I help humanity? And it's just that spirit, man. It's the spirit.
That's
So
wild.
how could I not honor Ali tonight? When you said bring in the hoodie, I was like, I already got one. I already got one. So, and I thought about Ali, and then my second choice was Bordo Clemente,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Pirates, another beautiful brother, beautiful soul. So
Mm,
it's so many of us that are doing things, and I think we have to pay homage to our ancestors,
Yeah. Yeah.
the ones before us. So
It's
yeah.
100. You mentioned before before we came on was you and I interviewed Lee Herrick. So that episode, it makes sense that you guys are going to go back to back. But you knew of each other. You didn't. Were you a poet back then? In undergrad? When and how did writing poetry find you?
Yeah, I love that story. So as a kid, let me go back a little bit. As a kid, I used to stutter. I had a
Mm,
pretty bad stutter, and it was kind of trauma induced. And I remember I began to shut down, at least verbally. I would kind of just begin to
mm,
people, and I was always into sports, and that was kind of my savior, being a good athlete. Um, but I noticed when I got to high school, um, Del Campo High School in 10th grade, I took a class called journalism, and I began to just really like write for the newspaper, right? And I was like, oh, I can do this. And I remember I had a chance to do like a feature story on our vice principal, Mr. Goodrich. And then it got published, and I was like, oh, okay, so the work can be out in the world, and you can like talk to people and then write your thoughts down. And so that was how I started. That's how I became a writer. Like at 10th grade, like I can write, I can express
mm,
myself,
yeah.
talk too much, I can just kind of like let my
Mm,
writing speak for me. And then from there, I just spent the years, in journalism, like 11th and 12th grade. And then in college, I began to write poetry. But, I was reading Langston Hughes and Maya
yeah, yeah,
Angelou. You know what I was doing? I was just kind of like journaling and writing my thoughts down, but also like hip hop music, like
yeah,
rap.
yeah.
I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. But when I really got serious about it was I would say when I was probably like in my mid 20s, I
Yeah.
began to like try to, send poems into the world, and a lot of rejections, but just work on my craft and begin to read more. And then I went back to school when I was 36 to Goddard College to
Mm,
get an MFA. And I had a career going on. I like Mission College,
yeah, yeah.
I was a counselor and teaching adjunct in the Department of English. But I went back to school and said, let me try to really, dig into this and, become a writer so I could
Yeah.
teach it, and really and read more of the poets, contemporary writers who are out there.
Mm,
And but that's how I kind of moved into the world of poetry. But I knew all along when I was young that I knew my best way for expression was through words.
yeah.
And I kept that in my heart as I went forward. And also, I would say journalism really helped me with poetry as far as compression, because the journalist, you have to really
Yeah.
compress. You have to have that hook. You got to have
Yeah.
imagery. So journalism was the best thing that happened to me, like in high school. That led me onto a path to become a poet, because a lot of the skills are the same when you write journalism. That compression really helped me. And then I began to say, you know what? It's okay to speak. I can let go of that.
Mm,
I can write
wow.
and I can speak, and I just roll with it now. I just let stories. And I'm a confessional poet in the school of like Sylvia Plath. So a lot of
Mm,
my poems are autobiographical,
mm,
which really what helped me as a healing process also to be able to express myself. And I've written some things that are people say, oh, you're gonna write that? I go, yeah, I'm gonna write that. This is my
mm,
truth. I'm a place of love,
yeah, yeah.
and these are my expressions to the world.
Mm.
So yeah.
Looking at yourself, looking at other writers, would you say writers are more narrow-minded or open-minded?
That's a deep. I'm gonna go open-minded.
Why would you say that?
The reason I say that is because I think we have to be, in terms of if we really want to touch other people and make some of our work, whether it's fiction, memoir, poems, you want to have that universal appeal in some way so we can tap into emotions and tap into our human story.
Mm,
And I think if you're narrow-minded, you limit
yeah.
your audience, and you limit people will just kind of like, I'm not gonna listen to that. So I'm trying to bring folks in, right? So I'm gonna say open-minded. I've never met a poet that is closed-minded. I really haven't.
Mm,
And I met a lot of poets, a lot of writers. I think you can't be. You can't
yeah.
be. I mean, as a human being, you have to be open-minded.
Yeah.
I think if you're not, you limit yourself, and you limit your connections, and you limit your humanity with people and how you
Yeah.
relate. So I'm going open-minded, open-minded, sure, for sure. But what do you, I mean, what do you think though? That's a deep question. Like, yeah,
No, you know, the way you reflected on it, I believe that to be true because I mean, whether you go to an open mic or an actual like a reading that's held by a university, um, it's funny when you see your heroes as poets, but they're so accessible. You know, you can go by, say hello, shake their hands, ask them questions. They'll just give you a big smile, like, why is this such a big deal? So I think it shows in their actions. You know, um, you can't just be. I mean, I think where they might come off as seeming narrow-minded is well in two ways. One is just being hyper focused because when we're on our grind,
That's
we're
true.
dialed in. We're dialed in. Or um I think you talked about it earlier about, you know, conflict and confrontation. I think, you know, in English we learn argumentation. Argumentation is not like hate-filled speech, right? Or not yelling. I think arguments are healthy. It helps you strengthen your position, but we're not used to people having their own position in front of us in real time. Like we're just we don't I don't know. We just haven't had healthy conversations in a long time or in certain spaces. But you know, but at the same time, though, Donnell,
Yeah.
I think we all have um, friends that we've never gotten mad at, right?
Yeah.
We've never had to yell at. Like we just kept it, but we still disagree, but we still kept it real. But it's like we never got the
Yeah.
fisticuffs.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, you
Yeah.
like that? You
Yeah.
like that? Oh, you a Pac fan? I'm a Biggie fan. All right, you know, like it is what it is, and that's it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I hear you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on literary prizes and writing contests?
You bring in the questions tonight. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, I think they do serve a purpose, and we just sent off, with Thera Books,
Hmm.
company that I founded after my mother, Thera Denise McGee, our latest book by Beatrice Gates, The Burning Key. It's a
Hmm.
collection of poems, new and selected. And we just sent her book off to like probably like 12, 15 literary contests,
Yeah.
waiting to hear back if the book wins an award. I think they do serve a purpose. Now I'm in my publisher role now, as a publisher, I think it brings the book
Yeah.
notoriety,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I also think that can't be the sole reason that we write or you publish a book. So I would say as a writer for me, yeah, it'd be nice to, win a Pulitzer or, a push card or whatever it might be. But when I sit down and write,
Mm.
I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm not writing to a specific audience. I'm writing because I'm trying to create art. Now, when the book is in the world, wherever that goes,
Yeah.
so be it. But I think we can do a disservice if we try to sit down and write a book that, okay, that's going to go to this contest.
Yeah.
It's going over to Lambda. That's going, I think we just, I can't do that. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel natural to me.
Yeah.
But as a publisher, with Beatrice Gates' book, I hope it does win a few awards
Yeah. Yeah.
because it deserves to. It's a
Mm.
powerful book.
Yeah.
And one day, if I win some awards, I won a couple. If I win some more, that's great. But it doesn't drive me to get up and go to the computer or my notebook and write.
Mm.
I do that, as you know, Robert.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We have to. And that means a lot to me that you asked that question because no, they don't define the writer. I know a lot of writers who have never even been published,
Yeah.
who have written some magical poems. It can be very subjective, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Some writers who, have written some different a novel or that they're trying to get published. It's a matter of time, but I don't think we need to look for others to to value our work. I think we have to value it first and do the best
Mm.
work we can. If you decide to put it out into the world, you have to let that go. Let that go. Award, publication, I think that will come, but that's not the reason. I think you go to the page. Yeah.
Hear that, writing audience? Okay.
At least for me. Yeah.
From a
Yeah.
writer, from a publisher, you heard it. Don't let a contest, a prize, have, don't let that be a necessity to validate you. Remember why you first did it in the
Yeah.
beginning is to express yourself because you have a song in you to sing.
That's right.
Um, what is your response to the word originality?
Oh, oh, that's the artist. That's the artist, right? I mean, okay, so the word I cannot stand is mundane. And I think so, no, sometimes, man, I feel like I'm suffocating, right? Like, you got like all I want to do is just get a good book. I want to read a book. I want to write, and of course I love my family. I'm my family, I'm my wife, priority, right? My kids, priority.
Yeah.
But I have, and I'm being real here, I can get, I don't like routine.
Yeah.
So I like to be, like you said, I like to be original. I like to be kind of on the cusp, take risks in terms of as a writer. So I try to live my life in an original way that is unique.
Mm.
I try to like really put myself out there in terms of being open, I get open-minded, but I can't do the mundane. I have a hard time with that. I think many artists do. At least, for me, I see that, and I have to be original from whether it's just the way, um, even wearing this is a statement,
Yeah.
you know. So anything I wear, it's got to be some kind of statement. I feel for myself. I try to live an artistic life,
Yeah.
and for me, that's being original.
So what should writers write about then?
I tell my students begin to write about what you know,
Mm,
about what you know. Um, I teach a creative writing class, and it's a survey class. We cover poetry, fiction, memoir,
okay.
playwriting, but whether it's fiction, whether it's if poetry, write about what you know, and if you don't know about it, do the research because it's got to be authentic. If you want people to really lean into your work, it has to be authentic. I've written books about, um, I mean, everything from bisexual
Yeah.
character being a bisexual character, prostitution, addiction, to political poems in American Reverie. And
Mm,
that require research. Some of that's based on experience, some of that's based on family experiences, but a lot of it's just going to those spots and walking around and
mm,
hearing the noise and the sounds. You have to know your characters, you have to know the setting, you you have to really put yourself in those moments to write
yeah.
about those moments. So write about, yeah, I would just say write about what you know to begin. And if you don't know it, go find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to people, do the research, do interviews. Make it authentic is the key though. Yeah.
And I think what adds to the authenticity, if I can add, is form. I mean, it's interesting. Like the story that you're telling may not fit the form that you think, right? Like sometimes we get in the way of our own writing. Because when I, when I explored this other story, I was like, this can't be a poem for this audience. It has to be flash fiction. You
Yeah.
you traverse a number of styles.
Oh yeah. Yes, I do a lot of hybrid work, and I love that. You say, yeah, let the story dictate the form. But is
Mm,
it poems or prose piece, or is it might be just you do an audio too. You might record it. You never
yeah.
know how to come up.
Mm.
But be open to like letting the story kind of take its own shape as you go. As you go.
How is time an ally or an enemy for writers?
Mm. Yeah, I think the thing about writing is you have to write, right? You just talk about that. I mean, it sounds simple, but I can be like, Robert, I'm writing this book, man. I got this idea. So what happens is this happens, and I'm telling you, right? But oh, so how many words you got? I got 2,000 words, but I'm on it though. But I think we have to sit in the chair or stand at the desk, wherever it might be. We have to write. So I know, time could be it could be an ally if you're disciplined in terms of like, and I don't mean, even just thinking about your project you're writing, right? In your mind, you're creating, but you still have to sit down and write.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think I've seen many talented writers who have a lot of ideas and they just never sit down and write. And no judgment there. It's just,
Yeah.
some folks, you have other responsibilities, you're working. But even in my own situation, I'm like, in the summertime, I got a little more relaxed. I'm like, I need to go write. But
Yeah.
I'm like, what's stopping me?
Mm.
So it's discipline. So now I'm like every day I sit in the chair, and whether I get 500 words, 5 words, a
Yeah.
thousand words,
Yeah.
I'm writing every day.
Yeah.
And that's new for me.
Yeah.
Because as a poet, you can kind of do fragments
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm like a young adult novel now, and I'm in the chair every day.
Mm.
And sometimes I'm just like I'm stuck. But you know what? I'm gonna sit here and something usually comes. And then also I think, so time, I think time is, you control time, but you have to really have a plan,
Mm,
and you gotta kind of, if you can, get rid of the things that can be shed away
mm.
and get to the deep work, get to that deep work. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, especially in your role, you're an awesome mentor to students. You're out there, you're encouraging folks. And I don't want to say now you're treating yourself. I think you're
Yeah.
giving
Say it,
yourself the
say it,
space.
say
But
it.
so why is writing such a personal, physical, and political occupation?
Oh man, you got to look at Ishmael Reed. Writing is
Mm,
fighting. I mean, I think particularly when we look at, I'm gonna say the African American, because I'm African American
yeah.
male writers. I think many times, you know, we are writing about, at least the people I look up to, like Nikki Giovanni going back, June Jordan, Sonia Sanchez. I mean, Lucille Clifton. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Writing was a necessity where there was no other way to do it. Even a love poem is political,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
Um, so I think it's a necessity that I have this saying that every poem is a love poem, every poem is a political poem. And you can look at that in different ways. But I think whenever I write, whatever I'm writing about, even my young adult novel, is political. Because I'm
Mm,
putting things in there that I think, I hope people um, will resonate with or need to hear. But it's all in the idea of like setting and character and narrative, right? And story. But I know for me, growing up in my background, I can't help it.
mm,
Everything I write has a message, at least that I hope it comes across. And it's usually some kind of political message about, you know, um, either justice, truth, or the idea of like, I'm trying to tap into my humanity and show you who I am, or let this character show you who he or she or they are in this narrative. And I don't go in thinking that, but that's how it kind of comes out. Going back to your thought about let the story take the
yeah.
form, take the shape. The story also has a message, and for different people, it might be a different message. But
Mm.
I'm just trying to put it out there in terms of like, through the narrative, this is what it may come out as. But yes, it's a deep question.
So it's interesting. I'm wondering if you've been able to pick it up, like, because hindsight is 2020. Looking back about voices, stories, and metaphors, symbols that have just been included, and you can see it threaded in all of your work. Has there been?
Yeah, redemption.
Mm, hmm,
Yeah, I look back at my first novella. I mean, even some of my first poems that were published for my first book, and they were always about farm workers sometimes. They were about folks on the street trying to survive. They're about families that were broken, that began to heal. They're about prostitutes doing the best they could to survive. They're about folks who are on drugs,
mm,
addicted to drugs or alcohol. Um, they're about little kids playing baseball, and that was their escape. So it's redemption, and trying to understand other people, and that everyone's flawed, but how do we talk to one another in a loving way? And I'm still trying to get there in my stories, but
mm.
redemption always, it does come up as a theme in my work. Yeah, but I didn't know that when I was writing the stories. But looking back, it's redemption, and also the gritty, sad, sad part of life that can bring us, but also the joy that we can find from life too. And it's that balance. And how do we turn towards, how do we not look away from the truth,
Mm.
but also embrace the truth and then examine that and try to like find, okay, well, what's my part in that? Yeah.
Do you know what your audience looks like? Do you have an image? If you
I
can't,
don't, I mean, I've been to bookstores to read and, pretty diverse, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I
mm,
hope, I wrote a piece about Marvin Gaye's life last October that was published in an online magazine, and I just hope folks who read that love
mm,
Marvin, love music and love that man, or I love the idea of like reading an autobiography or a bio
Yeah.
poem that kind of dives into his biography a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know the audience. I mean, and it's not important that I do really, because like I said, once the words are out there, I just hope folks find some value in what they're
Mhm.
reading.
Yeah.
And because I'm on to the next piece, the next poem or the next book or whatever it might be. But I appreciate the audience.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert, this as a teacher, a lot of folks don't read literature, man. Who's going to buy a book of poetry? I mean, see,
Yeah.
real like,
Yeah. No,
I
keep it
mean,
real. Keep it real.
who's really buying like I'm going to Barnes and Noble. I'm about
Yeah.
to go get me like 5 books of poems. I mean, I'm just being real. Like, I think less than
Yeah.
5% of our population in this country really reads literature. I mean, like real literature, and that saddens me. So
Yeah.
I think anyone who's reading like, either some of your poetry,
Yeah.
my poetry, Chris Abani's work, whoever, just that's a blessing that people are diving, open up the book and like going into the
Yeah.
literature and the stories because that's who we are. It's in our stories in the literature. So yeah.
I love that how you just said that's our humanity right there.
Yeah.
Um, um, where is it gonna go with this? Um, no, I love that response. Why? Well, I don't know how much you've traveled, but should a writer travel?
If able to, yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Why say yes?
That might be just going down the street.
I love that.
A different
Yeah.
part of town, right? Like I'm about to leave Valley Christian and go over to Andrew Hill for a minute and just see how people, you know what I mean? I'm about to go over here, but
I love that
yeah,
response. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
I mean, let's be real. Like, I think I'm privileged to be able to travel. I have a good
Yeah,
career, and I think some folks can't do that. They can't travel, at least not yet.
yeah.
But if you're able to travel, for all the young writers out there and even the older writers, yeah, you see the world and you see different people and different customs and different dialects. And I'm going to Ghana in October with my
Oh,
college. Taking the 10 of us are going to Ghana for the Amen. It's Amen is a group that works with like it's a at the California Community College level works with like African American men, and they have
mm,
a summit for African American men, and then they have this conference in Ghana for educators. And I'm excited to go to Ghana, West Africa, never been, and just explore and go in like with an open mind and just be open to like transformation, and that will inform me as a writer, I'm sure, as a human being too. But yeah, man, I think I've been blessed to be able to go to Egypt, and I've been to
oh,
Mexico,
wow, wow.
Peru, um, and I went to my wife and I went to London and Paris, and just to be able to explore. It took me a long time to be able to travel, though. I couldn't travel, I didn't travel, but I recall when I was young, my mother, and my stepdad, they would take us places, right? Whether, I grew up in LA, you're going to the Valley, you're going to San Fernando Valley. Now we're going to Redondo Beach, just seeing different places. And one of my first jobs was at San Jose State with the Upward Bound Project. And we would work with like high school students,
Mm,
low income, first
yeah,
generation
yeah, yeah,
college bound students, which was myself at the time too. And we would take them on field trips, college field trips. And you see these kids just light up like, okay, it's not just San Jose. This is now I'm
yeah,
over in Orlando. I'm here. You gotta, if you can, you gotta see the world, and yeah, I think it will inform you as a writer.
yeah. Even if it's right down the street, I love dude, that. The
Yeah.
way you said that's humanity, man. I'm telling you, like, even if it's back to Turlock,
Yep.
like you said, Andrew P. Hill,
Yep.
um, that person that is selling street food. I mean, just the person on the corner,
Yeah.
everything. Like
Yeah.
you can't deny that person's humanity, which is like it's not going counter, but it's like we take for granted because we assume that's the mundane, but it's not.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And
Um,
there's
yeah,
stories all over the world, man. Right.
everywhere.
Including in our own neighborhood and our backyards too. Yeah.
What are you gonna do when you go to Ghana? You got the itch, man. You're gonna have too much. You're gonna have too much to
Oh,
write about.
I'm gonna absorb. I'm gonna talk to people. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
Listen first, because we'll be there for I think 10 days, and
Okay.
I'm just gonna take it all in, then try to bring what I learned back to my students. You know. So yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. Excited.
All right. we're near the end, and so we have some existential questions. If you don't want to respond to them, that's completely fine. I want to honor that
I'm
too.
open-minded. I'm open.
All right, all
Yeah.
right. Um, what is grief?
Grief, grief is respecting, for me, grief is respecting those who have left this world in the physical realm,
Mm,
paying them respect, looking back at their lives and honoring their spirits. And at the same time, letting yourself, if you have to, break down and let a good cry out, go for a good walk. It's respecting those that we've lost. And that could be even the ones who are still here that we may have lost in some way through addiction, through whatever. It's just being present and being able to love through it all, but also honoring that it's okay to break down sometimes.
what is love?
Love is when you stop watching yourself. And what I mean by that is when you ever have that feeling where you're kind of watching yourself and as you do something like, you kind of like I'll be like teaching, right? I'm like, why am I watching myself? Like, just relax, let it go, bro. So love is like where you just let yourself go
Mm,
and be intimate with yourself, with those you love, and have no fear of judgment. And that's hard though, because we put our guard up sometimes. But
oh
when
yeah.
you can let that down and just be okay with like, this is me.
Mm,
And I think it begins with self-love before you can love anybody else too. Yeah. Yeah. And love is the hummingbird. Love is the gray sky sometimes. It's just
mm.
it's moving through our world, right? And being
Yeah.
open to what's out there, being present.
What is the meaning of life?
And I really think it's just doing the best we can. Just
Mm,
trying to show up. And we don't always do that. But when we do show up, letting the ego go, letting the ego go. And I think it's just trying to find that state of love as often as we can.
yeah.
And I think every communication is an act of love. Like
Mm,
this right now, we're really saying, I love you, man. I love you, right? It's really what it is,
yeah.
right? Even when it fails like other people, I think we're trying to say, really, I love you, but I just can't, I don't know how to say it. So the meaning of life is trying to connect with people, I think.
That's wild. No, no. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna digress
Yeah,
real quick because
please. Please.
I teaching King Lear, and we think about like villainy and nah, you're not supposed to hate the villains. The villains are supposed to teach you um not how not to be, but what can happen. Even to the best of us, because life hits, but even in the midst of that villainy, they're just asking to be loved.
Hey, Robert, that's deep, man. I'll be real, I fail every day at something.
Mm, yeah,
And the meaning of life is being able to make corrections, being able to like be humble enough to know, you know what? Hey, Robert, I made a mistake, man.
yeah.
Let me go back and apologize or let me own that,
Mm,
and I think we don't do that. We repress and at
yeah,
least other things that aren't always the best. But
yeah,
I think it's just trying to be humble and to try to connect with people in a genuine way.
yeah,
But we're also human, right? We can't always do that, but I think trying to do that as often as we can is
yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to encourage those out there, at least from my perspective, is like not to demonize, villainize anyone else. It in real life, all right, fictional characters are maybe,
Yeah.
but I mean, because if someone is acting out, doing some, I mean, it's how much mental anguish must they be going through that they're trying to handle that on their own understanding, you know? So, all right, on to a lighter one.
Okay. Right.
All right, Donnelle McGee. If you were stuck on an island and could only read one book over and over again until you get rescued, what would it be?
Woo!
Only
I
one book.
I already got it. I'm gonna read Chris Abani's novella "Becoming Abigail."
Okay,
I don't
why?
know if you read that yet, but
No.
woo! Oh, Chris Abani. Becoming Abigail, fierce, gritty, powerful story. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Last but not least, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Mm. I would say slow down, D. It's gonna be
Mm.
okay. It's gonna be okay. Slow down, D. It's gonna be okay. Yeah, yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us your time, showing us, as Donnell McGee said, showing us love. Um, and hopefully, we'll have Donnell on again. And please look for his work. You can find him. Where can we find more information about you?
Best way is probably like is Instagram,
Okay.
D McGee Writer. Also, Thera Books, the therabooks.com. And you can just, I'm out there. Yeah. So
All right.
Mission College. Yeah.
All right. And I'll have links in the description. Donnell, thank you so much for showing us love. We're so
Thank
grateful
you
to have
for
you.
having me. Thank you. Much love to the audience. Thanks for being out there. Robert, much love to you, my brother. Much love to you.